What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Planet Zoo. As always, if you guys are enjoying this series, make sure you leave a like on the video. It'd be greatly appreciated. In the last episode, we got like the basic infrastructure. It's a really difficult word for me to say. We got the basic infrastructure created for the zoo, or laid out for the zoo, and now today we've kind of got our work cut out for us. Spoiler, there's going to be quite a bit of decorating, plant decorating in this episode, so hopefully you guys are ready for that. But my plan here is to take this whole central area and hopefully complete it. It's going to be a little interesting, tell you the truth, and it's going to take quite a bit of time. But before we get to all that, I went ahead and created some custom walls specifically designed for these facility buildings. That way we don't have to keep using these custom walls because we can't have windows over here. They're not created to be placed around a facility. So I went ahead and did the unthinkable, and now we have some very, very basic, kind of rushed if I'm being honest, but very basic custom walls for these facility buildings. So what we're going to do here, I've already gone ahead and laid out the exact same facilities we have over here now on this side, so we can start to construct this thing. Thankfully, it's going to be pretty easy. All we have to do is copy and paste these windows around wherever there are windows, and it's going to look great. The main downside, whoops, didn't mean to place that there. The main downside with this is I can't use that same custom roof because that is aligned to a specific group, and I'm not using that specific group now. There we go. There's one done. It doesn't look near as nice, if I'm being honest. It doesn't look near as nice as this one does. But this one has its problems too. You know, the sizing is a little off. The doors are a little too big than they really need to be. And now over here, we've run into our first issue of the day, which is going to be this grid, this working grid that we have, isn't lining up with this building for whatever reason. I think what I did is copied and pasted those facilities and just plopped them down over here. And that one is using its own working grid here. So I'm gonna try to just move these a little bit, and then that way they'll match up with the grid again, and all we have to do once we like copy them over is just shuffle them around very, very slightly. So I'm gonna start out with the smooth walls, smooth-ish walls. We're gonna work our way around. There we go. We've got two windows on this side and a door, so let's grab the windows first, and we'll finish up with the door. Place our doors down in there, and we are good to go. So next, we're going to go around and just delete all these mud columns. We don't need them where we're going. And now I had mentioned that we're not going to be able to use that custom roof because it's just not part of this group here. We could like align it without using a grid and just kind of drag it into position and hope that it lines up around all four corners of these buildings. But honestly, I don't see that panning out. So what I'm going to do instead is use the exact same roof we've been using, but I think it'll end up looking pretty nice. We've got the first one now done. This is the easier one of the two. This one just has a little bit more intricate roof design. And I don't think we need to have like a crazy steep roof like what we've got on the smaller amphibian or reptile exhibit. I think this will work out just fine. I guess this one's not actually that difficult. I don't know why I was thinking it was going to be super complicated. Oh, that's because the custom roof. The custom roof, I don't have this inverted piece right here, so this is actually just two straight planks. See if I can get in there so I can show you a little bit better. Nope, can't really see it all that well. Oh, dude, the underside design actually turned out really nice. Didn't even really plan on seeing the underside of that roof, but this over here also looks equally as nice in my opinion. Kind of strange. Kind of a little weird, but it'll work. It'll work. All right, so we're going to pause things now because I don't want our staff freaking out over these buildings now disappearing. So all we have to do is hit delete on those, and there they go. You'll also notice there's a little bit different of a path going on over here, and that's mainly because I figured out that as long as I don't have a straight shot pretty much from the entrance over into this smaller exhibit, as long as that doesn't exist, the guests won't actually get close enough to get into that heat zone that we're trying to keep them out of. the negative impact on guests. That's mainly because of our workshop and our trade center are right there. But as you can see, the guests are staying to the outskirts of the building. They're hardly even going into that pillared section, so it's working out just fine. And now it's just a case of dragging these bad boy billies into position. So we're going to use the world axis here. We're going to slide them on over, get them roughly where they were before. Doesn't have to be perfect. And it looks like if I just shift it over to the left ever so slightly, those former paths are going to reappear magically. And there you go. We've got our path connecting there. This one I'm going to have to delete and replace down, but that's not a huge deal. Just got to delete that, get our asphalt once again, and boom. We're good, dude. Look at that. So now, if we hit play, we can actually see into these staff facilities, which is kind of what I was going for initially. I just couldn't make it work with those first set of custom walls. But this looks pretty nice. Definitely pleased with that. And I think our staff will be equally as pleased now that they can actually see out of their windows. So that's looking good. Next up, we've got to start diving into the crossroads of the zoo here. Unfortunately, you guys, I also love this little crossroad boardwalk thing that we've created, but we got to get rid of it once again, because underneath here has to be... Why is this not working very well? That's interesting. I'm clicking, it's not deleting. Underneath here has to be a good bit of water, and as you guys know, paths and water just don't really get along. So until we get this water situated, we're not going to be having any paths going over top of it. So as of right now, we can place a very, very small amount of water in here, but I actually think that's going to work out pretty dang well, because I really do want the boardwalk to be high enough so that if we did have an exhibit animal inside of this crossroad, as we're calling it, if we did have an animal in there, that way they'd actually be able to pass underneath of that boardwalk, and that would allow us to have larger exhibits here. I'm not sure just yet if I want to have an exhibit, because honestly, I don't want the guests like grouping up in that boardwalk. The path is very, very small, and it's not really going to give them a very good viewing area. Now we're going to grab our flatten to foundation tool, and we're just going to go along the outskirts of the paths that we have laid out already, and we're just going to flatten everything down to that same level. All right, there we go. We've gotten it all flattened out. It's a little large. It's definitely a lot larger than I thought it would be, but I think it'll work out just fine. So next, my idea is to have a sort of like river almost, with a bunch of like cattails and tall grass, elephant grass, stuff like that on either side. But I do want to try to keep this almost in like a size constriction. So I don't want to bring the river out any further than this tree line on that side of the zoo, and then any further than this tree line over here. So we're going to kind of snake it out this direction. I think it'll end up looking pretty dang sick, especially with the cattails. I mean, that's going to look just amazing. So I'm going to very roughly just bring this out pretty well straight, and then we're going to start to swing it around kind of just randomly. Just painting some pretty little rivers on our canvas here. Okay, this is going to be our rough sort of path that we're going to follow for this river. But now we've got to go through and just widen it. And it's really, really important for something like this, I feel like anyways, to make sure that both banks of the river don't look the same. You know, you don't want them to be like a mirror image of the other. So we're going to keep it kind of sloppy on purpose, just for that reason alone. With the river now widened, we're going to come back in with the water tool and place down our water. We'll see what we think. Shape and everything looks pretty good to me. It's definitely sporadic enough to sort of look natural. However, I don't really care for... Jesus, what is my camera doing right now? My God! I don't really care for how steep this bank is. So we're actually going to get rid of that water and try to get our smooth tool in here and just do a little bit more extra sculpting to this. Let's go ahead and place our water back in now that we've got everything smoothed out. So not only was it smoothing the transition of that bank, the river bank, but it's also smoothing out some of the more jagged edges of it as well. So I think that is coming together nicely. Definitely looks quite a bit more natural now. However, I don't really care for the grass going into the water. I want to be the one to choose what plants actually get put in the water and whatnot. So we're going to remove the water once again, switch to our painting tool, and we're going to go through and do a little bit of soil and a little bit of sand. It's definitely starting to look a little bit more swampy, a little bit more Florida-esque, now that we've got sort of a base layer down of soil. So next, I'm going to grab some sand. I'm going to leave the intensity at 100%, and I'm going to go up just a little bit higher than we were placing that soil and do a nice perimeter around here. Then we're going to come back through with the coarse sand and clean it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more natural. I would say that's about as natural looking as it's going to get. I didn't want to blend the outside edge too much because I'm not really sure what's going to go right here or on the outskirts of the river or anything like that. So the interior, though, pretty well blended. I would say that I'm happy with it. Now we're going to see what it looks like with a little bit of water in there. So there we be. From the top, it does look like a swamp. That's what we're after. Oh, this height, by the way, it's not going to be flat the entire time. I'm planning on going through and like roughening it up, making it deeper in some spots than others. But for right now, this is looking pretty dang good, you guys. And actually, I just had the water setting on use selected under paint, so it changed what's actually underneath the water. That's all sand now. All that hard work, gone. So instead, we're going to change this to sampled paint. And now it'll leave all the paint that we've got underneath. That looks a lot better already. I think the deepest area of this should probably be right in the center. So we've got it set to about 50% intensity. We're going to lower that down until we don't think it needs to go any lower. That's probably pretty good. And now we're going to do the flatten to foundation right down in the center of that bad boy and just get the deepest spot a little bit larger. There we go. So we've got it to be a perfect circle, which is fine normally, except we've kind of got an odd-shaped little pond going here. Is this a pond or is this a lake? Let me know, because I don't know the difference. I haven't the slightest clue. There we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now we're going to go back to push here, and we're just going to push in around the edges and make sure that this is looking all smooth and stuff.
Many minutes later.
Golly, dude, I have been looking at nothing but sand and dirt for the longest time now, but everything's nice and roughened up. I think that looks pretty legit, pretty realistic. Now, we're going to try to add our water back in once again. We're going to see how it looks. It's coming together. Definitely coming together. I think this high spot right there, maybe that high spot there, need to go down just a tad. Might even bring it a little bit less deep, too. That's quite a bit deeper than I thought it was going to be. The river looks great, though. That turned out really, really nice. I definitely think this is going to work very, very well for our sort of makeshift swamp here. Now, what we need to do is recreate the path that we had before. So we're going to turn on tunneling temporarily. Now that we've got the path started, we can continue to do that same sort of pattern we had before. I think this is that close? Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that is perfect. All right, well, we've got the first one done, and now it's actually going to add some path supports for us. So just one thing off the list that we don't need to do now, which is fantastic. There it is. Not exactly what we had before, but it still works. Honestly, looks pretty dang close, so I think we're in business. Now, I went through and made a list of all of the different exhibit species that I would like to put inside of this zoo, starting off with the Asian small-clawed otter. We have the capybara. We have the Nile. No idea how to pronounce this. Actually, what would be more fun is if we kind of scroll through this. So first up, Asian small-clawed otter, the capybara, of course. Or is it capybara? Capybara, same thing in my opinion. And then what do we got next? The Nile something rather, dude. You guys are going to have to let me know how to pronounce this because I have zero clue. God, we got a ton of animals in here. All right. This one, it's like a gazelle, almost. A lechwi. That's how I would say it. That's definitely not right. Next up, we have the platypus, of course. The red-crowned crane. The not speckled. I thought this was speckled caiman. It's the spectacled caiman. So that's a possibility of going into this center bit here. We'll see. We'll see. And then lastly, the wild water buffalo. Those are going to be all the exhibit species that I would like to put inside of this zoo. So having said that, we have 3 contenders for having a possible habitat in this sort of crossroads. The first one is going to be the capybara or beara, but I'm not really sure if I want to do that because they need like a hot spring type atmosphere, and this is more of a swamp. So I just don't think that that would work, but they do get along with guests just fine. So for that reason, I think that they'd be a good fit there. Apart from that, we have the red-crowned crane. Not like my first choice, I'll be honest, because they actually require quite a bit of land as well. This is mainly water, so we need something that loves the water and needs just a little bit of land, not too much. So the last option we have is, as I mentioned, the spectacled caiman. And truthfully, I feel like that's going to be the best fit in here. So that could be our very first exhibit. Time will tell. For now, though, we have a ton of decorating that we need to do. These banks are looking real bare. We've got to church things up quite a bit. So I'm going to hit you guys with a brief little time lapse, going around trying to spruce this place up. I'll see you in a few minutes. Well, I've managed to do 1/4 of the entire thing. You guys, it's gonna take a tremendous amount of time to get all the additional decor placed around, but I really think waiting until we have those other exhibits in those areas finished to get the rest of the vegetation put in, I think that's gonna be the best plan of attack here. And now I've just found out that we have a few animals that are in critical condition or something like that. Let's actually pause. We had an update here, and now suddenly it's gone. Oh no, you guys. 5 years ago, we got our very first Danube crested newt, right? Rika, or whatever her name was. She then had bebe. She then had more bebe. She then had more bebe. Her bebe has had bebe. And now she has passed away. Officially, they don't really live all that long, but even their offspring is still continuing to have bebe. So I think, yeah, social health has been impacted significantly. So if we click on this, go to animals, we've got just way too many newts in here, you guys. We've got to start getting rid of some. I'm going to start by getting rid of the adults, and then I think we'll just have to keep a male and a female so they can keep breeding. Oh no, but if they're all siblings, they're gonna be doing things all wrong. They're gonna be inbreeding, which is not ideal. Really, the only thing we can do, and probably the best thing that we can do for these animals, is just to try to move them all into the trade center and get them sorted so they can get out of this very, very cramped habitat. But I don't see any of our employees coming along to help these animals move on out of here. So we're gonna speed things along until we see like the Who does that? Is it the caretaker or is it the... Hang on. Who that is? Who that is? They just walked around. They're right here. That's the keeper. Okay, tending to exhibit 2. Are they actually, though? No, they're just cleaning it. Yo, where's our caretaker at? Hang on, there's an easier way to do this. I'm going about this all wrong. Staff. We've got to find our caretaker. Where you is, dog? Oh, okay, they're en route. They are en route. We've just got to be patient. All right, and they should make their way over to Exhibit 2 and start taking animals out and moving them into the trade center. That's going to take a long, long time for just one caretaker. How many we got in there still? Okay, about 5 left. We'll just keep at it. And now we've got ourselves a vacant exhibit. So we're going to go to actually exhibit trading first so we can take a look at our animal storage. Oh no, it's just full of them. It is just full of them, you guys. We're going to have to just quick trade a couple of them. And then the others, we're going to straight up release into the wild. Even though this is sandbox mode, I do plan on, reverting back to sort of the usual settings we play with so we can actually, get something out of this. Right now, it's just adding to our unlimited pile of conservation credits, which is not doing us a lick of good. Ooh, and check this out. We've got ourselves a 2-year-old male, a gold star Botond. Let's go ahead and adopt him for an imaginary 78 conservation credits. We'll get him moved into here. Now we need ourselves a female. We've got a silver medal one right there. 800 buckaroonies. Get her put in her new habitat as well. All right. Now, the last thing we have to do for these peeps is to go through and make sure their stuff, their educational stuff, is still set on them. And the speaker. And we're good. We are back in action, and no longer do we have all those animals crammed into one facility. You guys, this place is coming together so nicely, but I think that is probably where we're going to wind down this episode at for today. But once again, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, leave a comment, help support the dream by smashing that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace.